And I'm the Executive Director of Living United for Change in Arizona, LUCHA. We are a grassroots organization led by the working class people of Arizona, people of color, dedicated to building power and advancing social and economic and civil rights across Arizona. Through community organizing, voter engagement, advocacy, and leadership development, LUCHA fights for policies that center dignity, equity, and the voices of those most impacted by this injustice. Today, LUCHA is announcing legal action against the MAGA fanatical Arizona agenda. We are here to fight back against the rising tide of authoritarianism. Authoritarianism means strict obedience to power at the expense of personal freedom. That's exactly what we are seeing now. This new political order is targeting our communities by criminalizing immigrant families, undermining civil rights, and fueling fear and division across our state. The MAGA extremist agenda is not about safety or justice. It's about control. It's about cruelty and silencing the voices and the very people who make Arizona vibrant, resilient, and strong. At the center of this fight is Proposition 314, a dangerous law that would fuel vigilantism, unjust policing that leads to racial profiling at the behest of a fanatical agenda. Prop 314 is not just bad policy, it's a threat to the constitutional rights of people. MAGA fanatics are ripping apart our Constitution and the guaranteed rights it offers. It's a part of a larger coordinated effort to turn Arizona into a testing ground for Trump's mass deportation strategy. Handing ICE-like powers to local law enforcement and treating entire communities with suspicion simply because of the color of their skin or the language they speak. We have lived through this before. We remember the trauma of SB 1070. We remember what happens when politicians play politics with our safety and our dignity. And we remember it was organizing, grassroots, people-powered organizing that pushed back then, and it'll be organizing that pushes back now. You'll hear from our legal team shortly about the specific legal grounds for this lawsuit. But what I can tell you is this. We are taking this fight to the courts because our family, our rights, and our future are on the line. Prop 314 is not just about enforcement, it's about fear. It's about giving police a green light to question our people without cause, to sow mistrust between neighbors, and to make people afraid to go to work, to go to school, to report a crime. MAGA fanaticals are unleashing barbarism on the most vulnerable communities. See, this cruelty is not a side effect. It is a point. The terror they inflict is intentional. It's designed to push people into the shadows, to silence our voices, and to divide communities. Let's be clear, Proposition 314 is a Trojan horse. It opens the door for the federal government to accelerate mass deportation right here in Arizona. The MAGA extremist agenda isn't hypothetical. It's already underway across the country, and Arizona is the center of it. It is not a warning about what can happen. It's the reality we are living in right now. We are seeing mass deportations, raids in our neighborhoods, masked gunmen abducting entire families in the dead of night. Peaceful dissent is being criminalized. Due process is being abandoned for political targets. Hundreds of legal migrants have been kidnapped and disappeared into a so-called concentration camp in El Salvador. where they're being beaten, humiliated, and abused. This is not alarmism. This is a wake-up call. And Prop 314 is the Arizona legislature's way of bringing this violence to our doorstep. It is part of a deeply coordinated assault on our rights, our dignity, and our humanity. But Lucha is not backing down. We are not here to compromise. We are not here to ask for permission to exist. We are here to lead. We are organizing in our neighborhoods. We are knocking on doors. We are mobilizing voters. And yes, we are taking this fight to the courts. Because the people of Arizona deserve better. Our communities deserve safety. Our communities deserve dignity. Our communities deserve freedom to live without fear. We choose to take action during Cesar Chavez Week because we understand the power of legacy. Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta taught us that no matter how powerful the opposition may seem, the power of the people, when united, can overcome anything. We honor that legacy, not with words, but with action. We choose dignity over division. We choose freedom over fear. We choose people over politics. And let me close with this. This lawsuit is just the beginning. We will fight the MAGA fanatical agenda in the courts, in our communities, at the ballot box, and we will fight this extremism everywhere it shows up, in every form that it takes. Capitulating to an authoritarian regime is not the answer. Now is the time to fight like hell. This is the people versus a MAGA fanatical agenda. And when the people fight together, we win. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jim Barton, and I'm a partner at Barton Mendez Soto, and we are the law firm that is working for LUCHA, and we filed this lawsuit this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the grounds of our lawsuit. Then you'll hear from a couple of other folks, and then we're generally not going to take questions from him, but Cesar gave me permission to take a few questions from you all when we're done. So I'll come back at the end if you have questions about the details of the lawsuit. So here's the situation. This piece of MAGA legislation was pushed to the voters, and the voters approved it. But one of the things that the voters did not have an opportunity to vote on is, how are you going to fund this? All right? One of the MAGA hallmarks is fiscal irresponsibility. This is a brutally fiscally irresponsible referendum. And the legislature chose to lie to the voters and hide the cost of this measure when they presented it to the voters. Luckily, in the state of Arizona, that is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional to ask the voters to pass legislation without identifying the funding source when it costs money. Does this legislation cost money? Hell yeah, it does. All right. For one thing, it requires using a database that costs money every single time you use it. So literally by its terms, it mandates an expenditure of funds on its face. Secondly, by creating this nonsense new crime of state-based immigration, it increases the cost to the state tremendously, because you have to hunt down people. We have to incarcerate people, legally or illegally. Frankly, it's still going to cost the state money. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee, not a left-wing extremist group, folks. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee did a note on this, and you'll find this in our complaint. It's in one of the exhibits. And it said it would cost over $100 million to fund this piece of legislation. All right? The Grand Canyon Institute gave an even higher estimate of what it would cost. None of those costs were told to the voters when they voted on this. And most importantly, it was not paid for. That's unconstitutional in the state of Arizona. The sponsors of this act, including Senators Peterson and Kavanaugh, went around a big tour saying how they know it's going to cost a lot, but they don't care, it's worth it. Or they don't care, it's going to pay for itself by some magic way. That's fine, they said that, but they didn't tell the voters about it when they put the legislative description, the legislative council description. And also, again, if it was so great and it was really worth it, why didn't they put a funding source in this bill? because they were hiding it from the voters. It's unconstitutional, and for that reason, this measure will be struck down by the courts. Also, what's another aspect of the MAGA agenda? It's to terrorize people. It's to terrorize especially black and brown people. And one of the things this measure does is it redefines probable cause. Well, in the state of Arizona, the legislature, the legislative branch, does not define probable cause. The judiciary does. And once again, in Arizona, it's in the black letter law of our Constitution that each branch of government does the job that each branch of government is assigned. And when you pass a law and you assign to one branch of government, the legislature, the job of another branch of government, the judiciary, that violates the separation of powers clause. It is unconstitutional. That is the second reason that this law will be struck down as unenforceable. Finally, the MAGA agenda is essentially a hive mind. It is this idea that we all think the same thoughts and we all march goose step together in lockstep, right? Well, we see that in this legislation as well, because this legislation puts to the Texas legislature the role of enacting Arizona law. So this legislation says we're going to create this new crime, but we're not going to have it take effect unless the Texas legislature and their litigation team wins on Senate Bill 4. Texas Senate Bill 4. Folks, if you look at the Arizona Constitution, there's one group that's supposed to make laws in Arizona, and that's the Arizona Legislative Branch. Who is that? It's the professional legislators down in Washington, yes, and it's the citizens of Arizona, yes. It's not the Texas legislature. And because this bill unlawfully delegates to the Texas legislature and their litigation team the enacting of this law, it is unconstitutional on those grounds. So it violates the revenue source rule, it violates separation of powers, and it violates unlawful delegation restrictions. So for all those reasons, we feel confident we will win on this matter, and it will be held unconstitutional, and we'll be enjoined from enforcing it until or if they want to pass something that complies with the Arizona Constitution. Again, that's what I have. I will come back in a minute to answer your questions. I'm going to introduce Martine, will be talking to you next.
Hello everyone, my name is Martin Hernandez. I am a union organizer for United Food and Convention Workers Union, Local 99, here in Arizona. I come to this fight not as a politician or a lawyer, but as someone that's been living here and been experiencing the racial profile in our state. I was a worker long before I became a union organizer. I work alongside immigrant workers, immigrant families who have built this state with their hands, their hearts, their pain, their suffering. The same people that kept our food system running, our shelves stacked in the grocery stores, the same people that clean up our buildings, that take care of our children and our elders. I have seen what happens when our communities are targeted by extremist laws like SB 1070. We all remember that. We went through that. We also saw how law enforcement set up roadblocks in immigrant neighborhoods, not to protect anyone, but to exploit fear. I saw people being pulled over by police for no other reason, but just because the color of their skin. I witnessed the separation of families, many of them. The same immigrant communities, we learn how people, bad people, commit crimes against our immigrant communities. And they did it because they knew that our people would not report those crimes. They were victims of crimes. And if you ask, if you're a victim of a crime, why you don't report it? Well, that's very simple. And I'll explain it to you. When you look like me, they speak like me, with the heavy accent, and when your English is less than perfect, you know that reporting a crime, you'll be the one that is going to be questioned, not the others. SB 1070 was not about safety. It was about racial profile. It was about terrorizing our families. It was about separating families. It was about pure racism in our state. Now, we got Proposition 314. They are trying to do it again. They're trying to resurrect the same system of fear and intimidation that tore our communities apart back then. Only this time, they're going even bigger. They're giving the police power like ice. That's wrong. Police got better things to do. We see them before. That was the same things that we went through SB 1070. They did it, with this SB, with this Proposition 314, they're criminalizing people only because how they look or how they speak or where they come from. They're trying to supply the private prison industry that profits off our pain. Let me be clear. This law will not make anyone safer. When people in our neighborhoods are too afraid to call the police, that makes everyone less safe. When workers are harassed, profiled, threatened as suspects, that's not law and order. That's a state-sponsored discrimination. This is not just bad policy. This is personal. And that is why, and that is the reason I joined this lawsuit. That is why I am standing with LUCHA, with my union, and every worker, every family, every person in Arizona who refused to be silenced or shown into the shadows by these unlawful and discriminatory laws. Because we all deserve to live in communities that are safe, inclusive, and just, not controlled by fear or by politicians pushing the MAGA extremist agenda. Proposition 314 is about terror, not safety. It's about control, not justice. And we are here to say, we will not go back to the terror, the fear, and intimidation of these unjust racial profile laws. We are here and we're going to fight back. We're going to fight back in the courts. We're going to fight back in our communities. And most important, in the ballot box. We will stop the extremist MAGA agenda. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it with our communities. We're going to do it with one voice. We're going to do it with dignity, respect, and justice. Thank you. Mi nombre es Martín Hernández. Soy organizador sindical de la UFCW Local 99 aquí en el estado de Arizona. Me enorgullece presentarme ante ustedes, no solo como líder sindical, sino como demandante en esta demanda en contra de la Proposición 314. Vengo a esta lucha no como político ni abogado, sino como alguien que ha vivido la discriminación y el perfil racial anteriormente. Fui trabajador mucho antes de que fuera organizador del sindicato. He acompañado a familias inmigrantes que han construido este estado con sus manos, su corazón, su dolor y sufrimiento. Personas que mantienen nuestro sistema de comida en los vitrinas de los supermercados que abastecen nuestros estantes, que limpian nuestros edificios, escuelas, que cuidan a nuestros niños y a nuestros mayores. He visto en primera mano lo que sucede cuando nuestras comunidades son blanco de leyes extremistas como la SB 1070. Todos recordamos lo que pasó entonces. En aquel entonces vimos a las fuerzas del orden establecer retenes en nuestros barrios inmigrantes. No para proteger a nadie, sino para sembrar el terror en nuestras comunidades. Vi gente detenida, no por ninguna otra razón, nada más por el color de su piel, ¿no? Porque te mirabas sospechoso. ¿Sospechoso de qué? ¿De tener la piel café? ¿Pelo negro? Fui testigo de muchas separaciones de familias, bastantes, todos recordamos eso. En estos mismos barrios inmigrantes, aprendí de trabajadores cómo ellos fueron víctimas de crímenes y de crímenes que nunca lo reportaron. Y si me pregunta por qué una persona no puede reportar un crimen, bueno, es muy sencillo. Cuando hablas el inglés como yo, o te miras como yo, o te pareces como yo, no vas a reportar un crimen, porque tú sabes que el cuestionado vas a ser tú. Todos fuimos testigos del daño económico que SB 1070 causó en nuestro estado. Esta ley no se trataba de seguridad, se trataba de discriminación racial, se trataba de aterrorizar a las familias, se trataba de separarlas, se trataba de racismo puro en nuestro estado. Ahora con esta proposición 314 lo están haciendo de nuevo. Intentan resucitar el mismo sistema de miedo e intimidación que destrozó nuestras comunidades bajo la ley SB 1070 anteriormente. Solo que esta vez quieren ir más lejos. Quieren darle poder de inmigración a la policía, poder de ICE a la policía. Criminalizar a las personas por la apariencia o su origen. Quieren alimentar la industria de prisiones en el estado, la industria privada de prisiones en el estado a través del dolor y sufrimiento de las familias. Seamos claros, esta proposición 314 no mejorará la seguridad de nadie, hará lo contrario. Cuando la gente en nuestros vecindarios tienen demasiado miedo de llamar a la policía y reportar un crimen, todos estamos menos seguros. Cuando los trabajadores son acosados, discriminados y tratados como sospechosos, eso no es ley ni orden, es discriminación estatal. Sabemos lo que sucede cuando leyes como esta entran en vigor. Hemos visto familias destrozadas, hemos visto comunidades enteras ser silenciadas por el miedo. Hemos visto delitos que no se denuncian porque las personas tienen miedo de convertirse en blancos de ataque. Esto no es solamente una mala política, es algo personal. Por eso me uní a esta demanda. Por eso estoy con LUCHA, con mi sindicato y con cada trabajador y cada familia, cada persona en Arizona que se niega a ser silenciada o relegada a la oscuridad por estas leyes racistas. Porque todos merecemos vivir en comunidades seguras e inclusivas. Todos merecemos tener una comunidad segura, lejos de estas leyes extremistas magas. Ya hemos pasado por esto, ya hemos luchado entonces y estamos atacando ahora. La proposición 314 se trata de terrorismo, no de seguridad. Se trata de control, no de justicia. Y estamos aquí para decir, no volveremos atrás. No regresaremos al terror, el miedo y la intimidación de esas leyes injustas y de perfil racial. Vamos a luchar aquí en los tribunales, en nuestras comunidades, con nuestra gente, en las urnas de votar, y vamos a detener esa ley, esta maga extremista en nuestro estado. Y lo vamos a hacer en una sola voz, lo vamos a hacer con nuestras comunidades en unidad, justicia, dignidad y respeto. Gracias. Ahora quiero pasar al representante Chandler.
Hello. Hi everyone, good morning or afternoon. My name is Priya Sundaration. I serve as the Democratic leader in the Arizona Senate. I'm here today because what's happening in Arizona and across the country is dangerous. Prop 314 is dangerous. And the MAGA extremist agenda beyond that is dangerous. Behind it is dangerous, not just to immigrant communities, but to everyone and to the future of our democracy. As lawmakers, our job is to protect the people that we serve, to uphold the Constitution, to pass policies that improve your lives, and to make sure that our communities are safe, stable, and free. But Prop 314 does the opposite. It doesn't make anyone safer. It creates fear. It fuels harassment, racial profiling, and abuses of power, things that we are already seeing today. When this bill came before the legislature, I fought to stop it. So did many of my colleagues. We warned what it would do, we spoke out against the harm that it would cause, and we made it clear. This bill was never really about public safety. It was political messaging weaponized into public safety, plain and simple. And until we threw up the flags, this would have gone even further. This would have attacked dreamers and other law-abiding people in our communities. And now it's the law. We are already seeing how it is being used, not to keep people safe, but to divide us, to dehumanize and to terrorize Arizonans. That is why I'm standing here in full support of this lawsuit. Because even though the legislature passed Prop 314, we still have the power and the responsibility to fight back. When Republican lawmakers fail to protect people, the courts must step in. When political extremist agendas override basic human rights, it's up to all of us to push back. Let's be clear about what this law really is. It's about control, fear, terror, and punishment. It is about giving law enforcement broad power to target people based on how they look, how they speak, or where they come from. It is about making entire neighborhoods feel like they're living under surveillance and that they're not welcome in our state. It is about stoking fear so deeply that people are afraid to report a crime, to speak their truth, or to walk down the street. And we've seen this before. We saw it under SB 1070. We saw what happens when the state uses law enforcement as a tool to terrorize people instead of to protect them. Families separated, workers harassed, communities driven underground. Prop 314 is the tip of the iceberg. In this legislative session alone, we have seen over more than a dozen bills just like it, all aimed at fueling and assisting Trump's mass deportation efforts. These are all proposals that mirror Trump's mass deportation plan. These bills would militarize the border, turn local police into ICE agents, and even offer cash bounties to target undocumented people. It's coordinated, it's extreme, and it shows just how determined MAGA politicians are to turn Arizona into a testing ground for fear-based authoritarian policies. Prop 314 or any of these other bills that we're seeing this session, they're not just a single policy, they are a pattern. It's a pattern of a coordinated extremist national agenda to bring Trump's mass deportation plan to life. And Arizona is being used as a proving ground. We cannot allow that to happen. We cannot normalize cruelty. We cannot allow the political ambition of some to override our values or our basic humanity. To every family feeling the weight of this law, I want you to know this. You are not alone. There are people in positions of power who see you, who believe in your dignity, and who are fighting with you, not just today, but every day. This lawsuit is about more than challenging just one bad law. It is about sending a message. Arizona is not MAGA's testing ground. We will not be bullied. We will not be silenced, and we will not allow hate to win. Thank you.
So let's talk legalistics here. Since 2016 had several provisions other than the SB4 issues where people verify, and there's a federal issue there. Are you saying that the entire law can be enjoined, or are you seeking to only enjoin parts of it? How do you tie it all together like the federal?
Yeah, the entire law needs to be enjoined. And the reason the entire law needs to be enjoined is so much of it is unconstitutional that it can't stand on its own after you take out all of the numerous unconstitutional bits. The tattered remains of this law are not enough to stand on its own. And so yes, Howie, the whole law needs to be struck down and declared unconstitutional. Yes.
Please, the other half of the question. I saw that you're seeking a permanent adjustment. Are you seeking some sort of expedited review?
At this time, we have not filed an application